A number of years ago, I had a brief partnership. It was a project, so it didn't end poorly. We had a project together, and then when the project was done, we moved on. But we became good friends, and he'd been a survivor, and that was the word he used, a survivor of the Vietnam War. And he had an interesting line. He said, "You know, none of us who came back from Nam, none of us came back fully alive. Something had died within us, and of course we were trying to put it back, and I'm not sure many of us really can." Well, I thought about that just the other day. Yesterday, our church celebrated the 4th of July, and usually the 4th of July is not a war celebration or commemoration. Obviously, that's thought about in the Memorial Day celebration, those who in the many wars and freedom battles gave their lives, and remember those people who had sacrificed so dearly. And of course, in November, there's a Veterans Day, and that's when we certainly make a point of honoring all those who've served not only in our wars, especially then, but who have served their country in the armed forces of the United States in some way. Well, yesterday, because this year is the commemoration, that's the only way to put it, of the end of the Vietnam War, in the sense that the ceasefire went into effect, at least for the American point of view. The conflict was over, and the POWs began to come back, and the people began to come back. But those soldiers who served in Vietnam never received the hero's welcome, or any kind of welcome. And many of them received a negative welcome. And so we had, along with many other people, we had Welcome Home. And the service was dedicated to commemorating and celebrating and thanking those obviously not young men and women anymore who had been a part of the Vietnam conflict. And it was a very moving day. A lot of tears, a lot of smiles, a lot of hugs as people remembered some of the things that happened, and obviously some of the things that went wrong and some of the tragedies that happened. But yeah, now that was 50 years ago, and we'll seek to move on. But the expression, of course, that my friend gave has stuck with me for a long time. None of us came back fully alive. And I've thought about that a lot, and may I take just a few minutes today to make a few thoughts about that, maybe even some interesting ideas. I'm Stan Houston. That's the name of this program, and it begins right now. One of the things that was part of my remembrance were the friends that I had. I had a number of friends who went to Vietnam, and I had 3 or 4 who didn't return from Vietnam. And of course, my own situation was that, like all younger men at that time, the draft was in effect. It was not necessarily a volunteer. In fact, as the speaker, who was a longtime chaplain who was at our church, said, you know, nobody really wanted to go. Of course, there's always those who are willing to serve and the warriors who are ready to serve, but no, it was not anything that was popular in that sense. And we were caught. Should we enlist so we could get a better choice? What should we do? How should we seek to deal with the selective service and the draft? And all of that caused us to make a variety of decisions about how we would live our lives. And some people signed up and went through their deal and were able to be okay. Not everybody landed up in the war. Not everybody landed up in Vietnam. A number of people landed up safe and sound. But a number of them, of course, did not. And as my friend said, something died something affected us, something was lost, no matter what. Well, the idea of being fully alive is one that has struck me for some time. And as we put together some of the work that we did, I was reminded of the expression of what were called the Desert Fathers. And by the way, they were also Desert Fathers and Mothers. And these were people of faith, early Christian folks who, in the 2nd, 3rd century, decided that the world was such a mess, and that if they really wanted to live in the world of the mess, they'd have to get away from the world of the mess. So many of them simply went out into the desert and became hermits, or established little communities of hermits. So it was kind of a hermitage. It was still a group of men and women. And they gave themselves to prayer and to thinking and doing what little they had to do to survive. Obviously, they weren't trying to make a living or build a business. They were doing just what they had to do so that they could be fully alive. And that was the expression that was used. It was said, we went into the desert so that we could meet Jesus and become fully alive. Now, we wonder if that's what it took. But I just simply say today, and I'm saying it to myself again, there are so many things that are taking the aliveness out of our world, the institutions of government, the scandals that are taking place, the obvious mistrust that is in the world. What would it be for us to become more fully alive? And again, I go back to my friend. You've heard this before, but I'll say it again. Howard Thurman, who told a group of young men and women, and again I say this because I want you to investigate his life. His lives, because he lived a number of lives within his life. So I guess that was a good slip of the tongue. And he said, here's what you should do. Find out what it is that will make you fully alive, and then do it. And the young people, they were looking for, what kind of career should I follow, or how can I make a difference and do some activist work? He said, no. Find, discover, create, run into, what is it, by your definition, that will make you fully alive, and then do it. And I think as I'm actually working myself and working with many of my colleagues who are in the 4th quarter of their life, and it seemingly is a little bittersweetness to that. A number of folks say, retirement isn't what I thought it was going to be. I'm disappointed in what is happening. As a result of many things, it's not what I expected it to be. And so I think it's important for each and every one of us at, let's say, right now, in this rather chaotic year of 23. We're now in the second half of 23. And so I challenge you once again just to take some time and perhaps go into a place of stillness and quietness, and just ask for the wisdom to know, what should I do now? What should I do differently now? What should I be now? How can I become more fully alive, right now in this second half of 23. Fully alive for me and thee. Just a thought for today. An interesting idea. I wish you all the best and blessings. In America, we celebrate the 4th of July, and it's a holiday time, but then, of course, that holiday will end, and the celebration will end, and then we have to go back to work, and we have to go back to living a life, and hopefully there'll be just a little more to it, and a little greater life awareness, and a little more aliveness in it all, as we consciously and prayerfully press forward, indeed, to become more fully alive. Reach out to me at stanhouston@gmail.com, stanhouston@gmail.com. We have a number of things that are going to be helpful to you in perhaps creating some new opportunities for you. But we'll talk about that later. Yes, best and blessings. Till next time, bye for now.